Alright, I noticed that my second video, I thought that was the end of it. The battery, I think, died on the my camera. And right when I was talking, so I'm going to read the last 2 pages of the report. Within the winter, well, the last 2 pages that I chose to talk about, not the actual report. The report ends on page 38. I'm actually reading page 32 and 33. Within the winter 2010-2011 detail sets are descriptors for completely burnt through tube carrier and ashes of supporting structures. Both of these sets are space supporting subsets, which of course means outer space. Again, these value sets are impacted by a huge surge of building emotional tension just prior to the tipping point, and thereafter they shift into release language. The dragon versus snake subset is very large and diverse, with cross-links or directly held values for politics, as well as existing social order. It would seem that the combined entities are forecasting something of an internal to the cult of reptile mind control battle, in which the presumed prize for victory would be humanity, Well, as the data sets accrue within Space Goat's Fart's entity as it is progressed, along with model space, into the early months of 2011, the emotional release values and the accreting language are specifically focusing on the loss of carefully built up emotional tension values within the powers that be entity. The number of crosslinks participating in the loss of value sums within the powers that be entity are too extensive to be able to be fully analyzed in the time permitted to do this work. The presumption that we have now is that the internal battle within the reptile mind control machinery, aka the powers that be and their minions, over very late fall 2010 and winter 2010-2011 will spiral out of control in such a manner as to destroy much of the underpinnings or structures for control of the general populace of humanity. This is indicated to cause a dramatic increase in visibility of reptilian mind control, as well as to shatter confidence in the control structures or illusionary world. Due to how these linguistic structures developed as model spaces move forward, it is also presumed that these will be hugely wide memes. This implies such examples as a general defeat of incumbents as a global voting trend, while at the same time a large-scale social shift into awareness moves along as in pace with the global economic degradation to rubble, debris, ruins. And as the data itself seems to imply, the coagulation within the global economic structure is generally good for humans, in spite of the suffering caused in the shorter term, as it will degrade the whole of the power that be ability to control the global populace in the slightly longer term, presuming one makes it out that far. One meaning people make it that far. Title: Solar Rivers. The Space Goat's Farts entity. And again, that term, which I hate, Space Goat's Farts, means the woo-woo, weird, out of space, unknown space stuff, that whole topic. So, the Space Goat's Farts entity controls a growing mass of supporting sets for solar upset and solar irregularities. Within the immediacy values and the first of the shorter-term value sets, these solar disturbances are going to impact Earth, at least insofar as communications and planetary distribution and global climate are concerned. The data suggests that at least one solar disturbance of winter 2010-2011 will be temporally related to large-scale ice movements across both polar regions. These large-scale ice movements, subsets, would appear to be describing some pretty sizable chunks of glaciers going walkabout. In the southern Antarctica sets for ice movement, the results are indicated to include the formation of a new river of ice/water, as well as the destruction of some supplies, but more significantly, the revelation of ancient structures. Please note that just because the data sets forecast it does not mean that regular humans, you and I, will get to participate in this little discovery. There are some small number of visibility values suggesting that word will leak out, but most of these sets are extensively cross-tied back to the powers that be and the shadow government world. So the presumption is that while it is important both short and long term, the revelation of ancient structures in Antarctica will not be very visible in the immediate future. Still, this data suggests that the aware observer, you and me, should be able to get a few hints of the find, whatever they find there, by late spring 2011. Note that it may pay the Shadow Fellows to be ready to exploit the narrow window forecast to present itself in late winter 2010-2011. The Antarctica situated Earth shift changes are not the only such examples of uncovering of ancient past, showing in the data for 2011-2012. The accretion patterns for the Space Goats Farts entity include aspect attribute sets for a mudslide with geographic association to northern India, will also reveal previously hidden ancient site. And in this instance, the data sets could be suggesting that the authorities actually discover the existence of the ancient site due to an influx of ancient artifacts that will appear on the gray and black markets in spring of 2011. Further, the emotional intensity values are such that some level of cultural shock will be associated with these artifacts, so casually sold into the unsuspecting market. Let me read that again. Further, the emotional intensity values are such that some level of cultural shock will be associated with these artifacts, so casually sold into the unsuspecting market. And here's just an opinion, but if they find artifacts very nicely preserved, kind of tells a story of how things were back in those days. And then, of course, we study and figure out, well, okay, what do our history books told us? What has our own history and governments told us that the past was? We just found all this archaeological evidence that says otherwise. The whole entire story, the whole entire history of humans, at least at that part of the world history, is completely wrong. And this data, these artifacts, says it went this way, not the way you bozos have been teaching us. It may also delve into religion. And all the religious stories, especially in India, I guess because this particular one's in India, may find out that, hey, you know that old story we all believe in religion, the story? Yeah? Archaeological evidence kind of says no, not quite. What are we going to do about that? Well, it's in our face now. What can you do? We got to change our belief. That's just an opinion. It's a possibility. It's not saying the word religion in this report, although it does, in some of the past reports, talk about religion as a whole, and all the different ones. Basically, they won't be the same as they were now. And the way I took the report is that most religions, including Christianity, I hate to say it, is massively wrong as far as what we've been taught. Completely, just, it's going to be turned upside down. All of the religions, due to information like this and other things coming out during the crises that we're fixing to be facing over the next probably 2-3 years, I'm guessing. So anyways, that's really all. I needed to finish that because I thought I finished it in the other video, but I didn't. So I'm going to leave you with me singing with Alanis Morissette. Cause I've got a website report in my pocket, and the other one's holding some silver.